Hot dog. Hey man, did you see the State of the Union?
I did see the State of the Union.
Yeah, we watched it.
Yeah, it was 2 hours of my life.
All 3 hours. Yeah.
All 37 hours of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting, for sure. I I think excuse me. Pardon me. I think what struck me the most is it was so different than any other State of the Union address to the joint session of Congress that I've
Right.
ever seen in my entire life. I've never seen such division, divisiveness, such um I've never seen anything like it. In
Right.
the
And
history of joint sessions to Congress, it's the most different I've ever seen in the
the most
history.
different. Yeah. And that's been the topic of conversation in sessions. Not for everybody, but it's kind of come up very often. And so, not that we necessarily need to talk about that, but that division, I think, is troubling a lot of people. And of course, they're on social media,
Mhm,
like Facebook and Instagram and even TikTok. And people are really struggling with this on both sides. Families
mhm,
are being torn apart, and I know we've seen this over the
mhm,
past, several years. We've seen
mhm,
that, but it seems to be getting worse.
mhm,
And the people who are not on the agreeing side of the new administration are just suffering, and they're not sure what's going to happen. And of course, the the grand illusion of the ones who are on that side are just kind of going along with that, and you see lack of critical thinking and examining of things. And I know we've talked about critical thinking a great deal in the past, and we'll still talk about that. But just that group think mentality, that
mhm,
mob think,
mhm.
and that's very scary.
Yeah, and I agree. And everybody has their own opinions, whether you're on the left or the right, or even if you don't have a strong political affiliation, but you have opinions on what's happening, and that's great. Everyone needs to have their opinions. Everyone needs to be informed. Everyone needs to do their own research. That's what I see a lot of people is not doing their own research.
Mhm.
People are just taking sound bites from Facebook or social media and running with it without doing any fact checking. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. So please just
Right.
do your own research. I mean, it's real easy to Google up, if something sounds weird, Google it and look for credible sources. And what are credible sources? I don't know. I mean, we used to think we knew what credible sources were, but mainstream media is not always the most accurate, in my opinion. Um, I
Right.
look for alternate sources of facts, and really, that's a lot of international news agencies, Reuters, NPR, Associated Press, the BBC, are some of the news sources that I look at. They seem to be a little less biased and a
Yeah.
little more just factual. Um, but anyway, I mean, the whole point of doing your own research, having your own opinion, but respecting other people's opinion. Um, and because we are still all Americans and we are all citizens of this country and we want to see it succeed and not just survive but thrive. And
Mhm.
we have differences of opinions on how to get there, and that's okay. But we really just need to be one as a country. We don't have
Right.
to agree, but we do need to support um, our country.
Do you remember the symbolic phrase from the last Civil War that we had? United we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah,
I think we need a reminder of that.
yeah. And what my paranoid brain goes to is our country seems to come together after national tragedy. And
Yeah.
I don't want a national tragedy to happen
Right.
in order for us to try to come together. Um, but we do need to and remember Tom, you and I are older, and we remember the days where people could disagree and they could debate. I mean, the whole debate thing was a wonder. I
Right.
loved debate. I did debate in high school. I loved I love the whole concept of debating, but there's no debate anymore. It's screaming
Right.
over each other, it's interrupting each other, it's, attacking each other.
Yeah.
That's not laying out facts. It's,
Right.
just attacks, and I think we've gotta go back to just polite conversation. I don't mind talking with people, that want to debate and talk about different facts and interpret things, and that's okay. But
Mhm.
when it just devolves into personal attacks, it's not a debate anymore.
Right. We see how that does not work with couples on a
Oh,
very micro
absolutely.
scale when couples come in and they're doing the same things that we see on a macro level in our country.
Right,
Like they get divorced.
right,
It doesn't
right.
work. We as therapists have to tweak that and say we need to come from a basis of love,
Yeah,
trust, respect,
yeah,
honor for one another, and you can disagree on things, but you can work through and problem solve. And I don't see that on a big macro scale. And what works well with couples is those things coming from a place of love and respect and working through their differences and talking about them, not throwing daggers at one another. And when they do that, couples, when they don't throw daggers, when they respect each other, they can come to, a basis from which to grow on. They can build a solid foundation and then they stay together and they're better for it. So
mhm.
we need to do that. I don't know how we facilitate that on a big scale. I don't know if things are too far gone, where there needs to be a national tragedy, or a big war or to turn things around. I hope that's not the case, but I mean, that may be inevitable.
I will never forget Tom's big 3, must-haves for a successful, marriage. And, I mean, our country is a big marriage, right? It's a big relationship. We all have to coexist together and lead our country into the future. Our country is much like a marriage. And Tom's big 3 for a successful marriage is mutual respect. I'll never forget this, Tom.
Right.
Mutual respect, trust, and we're better together. We bring each other up instead of tear each other down, right?
Exactly.
We are better together than we are apart. Where the sum is bigger and better than the parts of the individuals. So, we don't respect each other. All we do is tear each other down. All we do is insult each other and throw daggers, like you're saying. We trust each other. We don't. We all believe the nefarious things. We all believe that the far left is a deep state and they're doing blah 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 and cabals of sex traffickers and the highest forms of democratic government.
Yeah.
Come on. And then the far right is, oh, they're just an agent and they've been turned by Russia and we're going to become a
Right.
communist. That's excuse me. Pardon me today, everybody. I got some throat issues. Um, but neither one of those are true, right? There's varying degrees
Hmm.
somewhere in the middle, but we don't respect each other and we don't trust each other. And then the final one is we're better together. And right now we're not demonstrating that we're better together.
No, we're not. I mean, the majority of people in the country, at least I'm basing this on the small scale that I see, and then talk with other clinicians who are basing that in their area on their small scale. And collectively, it seems like the majority of people are more in the middle, not exactly in the middle, but they're
Yeah,
not leaning, or they're leaning maybe to one side, but they're not all the way to the
right.
extreme. But they feel like they have to be because of this whole group think, and we have that innate survival instinct to be part of a group. And so people feel like they have to join and pick a side, and not only pick a side, but heavily lean into that side and sort of go along with that for fear of being ostracized by the group. And so that's the danger of mob think, of group think. And we see that happening. And it's created such a division over the past couple of years that I don't really know how we turn this around. And so we'd like to continue the conversation going. So please send in your comments, send in your questions. Let's, shit, maybe we'll even take some live callers on this, like so that we can figure out how we can facilitate a big change. I mean, you and I cannot do it ourselves. We need
Right.
We need others. And I think there are so many out there who would like to see that
Right.
change occur and happen, who don't want to be on either side, who don't want to be ridiculed if they don't go along with whatever their chosen side views. It's not these radicalists on either side that uh, represent the large population of people, but they have the power and the influence, and so that's what they're
Mhm.
doing. So,
Yeah, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. We talk about those three big concepts, Tom. How do we get people to at least embrace those three concepts on a political in a political sphere? Mutual respect. We don't have to agree with, other people on their political beliefs, but we have to respect that they're entitled to their beliefs. I mean, the whole basis of the First Amendment is freedom of speech and freedom to believe whatever it is you want to believe. Just because you believe something different than I do doesn't make me right and you wrong. It's just we have a difference of opinion. A
yeah,
Catholic, it has a difference of opinion than a Jewish person, and that's okay. We've coexisted and you know for a long time that way. Why? So, but we got to be able to get that there politically. So mutual respect.
right.
The second thing is trust. So, how do we get people politically to trust each other? Um,
I mean, that's trust a politician, like
yeah, yeah.
on any
And it
side.
and I don't even mean politicians, I just mean, your neighbor, that has a different political belief. Do you believe that, your Republican that supports a more red initiative, um, I mean, I don't even know where I'm going with that, but, do you trust that they really have the best interests of the country at heart? I believe that everybody does. I believe every citizen. No one is trying to support an initiative that's going to tear down our country and make it.
Right.
Although it seems that way sometimes,
Sure.
we have to trust that we all want our country to succeed.
Right. So we can start with your neighbor, maybe that's where it goes, is even if they have a difference of opinion,
Right.
they still want to enjoy their life. They want to feel safe in their homes. They want to be able to do the things that they like to do. They want to play pickleball. They want to go golfing. They
Right.
want to be able to go to the grocery store and get food and for prices to not be astronomical, to be able to afford their lives, and they want to be able to borrow the weed whacker from their neighbor. And, we want to have this social contract that we've signed, not literally but figuratively, that we can be relatively safe and secure in this country. And I think we can still trust that most people want that.
Right. Nobody wants to see the demise. Very, very few people want to see the demise of this country. Everyone
Right.
wants it to succeed and prosper and grow and be a great country. We have to believe that about everyone and other people. And then the final one is we're better together. I mean, and just look at the Civil War. I mean, where this country was torn in half. And, there's some metaphors about what's going on now that we're kind of in a political civil war and we're tearing each other apart.
Yeah.
And we know in order for this country to succeed, we're going to need the efforts and the support of everybody here. So we're not fighting each other, we're fighting together to, make this country prosper in a very different, changing world.
Right. And if there are decisions being made that affect you that you don't agree with, how can you how can you seek to educate and possibly make some changes to those, or how can you adapt to them? I mean, a lot of these things are big concepts that we don't necessarily agree with, but are they really affecting you right now? Maybe, maybe not. I know there's a lot of groups out there that are being deeply affected by the decisions that have made, and that's not okay. And I like to help speak out against those types of things. But for the majority of us, there's not necessarily anything huge. happening to us in particular. But there's a lot of things I don't view to be okay. But
Mhm.
it hasn't reached me yet. I guess it's just wait,
Mhm.
maybe at some point it will.
It has affected a lot of people. I mean, we
It's
talk
affected
about
a lot.
veterans. It's really affected veterans. A lot of federal employees. The stock market is tanking. Businesses are raising prices in anticipation of tariffs, and people are sounding the economic alarms. And there's a lot of things happening, and it's happening, so we have to deal with it. So instead of just pointing our fingers and screaming, um, how do we take what is happening now and try to push it in the right direction? How do we, how do we at least just not freak out about it? And,
Right.
you know, everything I mean, we've been doing some different things for 6 weeks, right? So it's only been 6 weeks. Let's see what happens. And hopefully something good can come out of this, that we
Yeah.
just can't see, hopefully, and that we'll have to do that. And, I'm not saying, I think that people need to stand up for their beliefs and, don't give up on your beliefs. And if you, have very strong feelings, then you need to, peaceably demonstrate and let your
Yeah.
Congress people know about what it is you believe. And that is your absolute right as a US citizen.
Absolutely.
So,
And I don't like that there's a lot of people that are scared to do that because if they reach out and they use certain language or they link with a certain side that they're fighting for, then automatically they get thrown into, well, you're in that far camp. And so therefore we know all these things about you when they really don't.
right.
It's the judgment from others on a big scale or even just your neighbor, shit, what kind of bumper sticker do you put on your car? And then automatically people put you in that camp and they feel like you are all these things when you might not be.
Right. And, I think we'll get some comments about, that we're trying to speckle over this and just smooth it and, put on a smiley face. And, that's not the case. You and I, in private, have our own discussions about our feelings and some of the things that we're exceedingly concerned about. And that's okay. But we can't use all of our personal things as to be just divisive with other people, right?
Right.
um yeah, our goal is the top three that we talked about is trust, respect, and we're better together as opposed to separate. So when we talk with people that may not have the same political beliefs that we do, we try to go back to those three. I don't agree with your opinion, but I respect you that you have the right to have your own opinion.
Yeah.
I have to trust that you have the best interests of this country at heart, that you don't want this country to be torn apart. I have to trust that. I have to. I don't always see it, but I have to trust that.
Right.
And then I know that we're better together as an entire population of 330 something million people in this country, that we are better together to solve our problems as opposed
Yeah.
to apart.
I show up for those who come into my office who seek to utilize me as their therapist. And regardless of what their beliefs are, I meet them where they're at and I show up for them and I hold the space for them and I encourage them to make positive changes in their lives. Maybe help to encourage them to critically think and examine situations. But there's a lot who don't want to do that, and that's perfectly all right. I meet them where they're at. But the fact that I can show up for those people, and set aside my own personal views.
Mhm.
That's the role. That's the relationship, and I feel like I do that relatively well, and have helped people on whatever their beliefs are on whatever side,
Mhm.
and they do just fine. Do they sometimes assume because I'm not challenging what they're saying that I'm on their side? Sure. And do I feel a little guilty about that? Maybe in a way, but I try to separate and hold those boundaries. That doesn't really matter what I think or believe, and it's not necessarily important. for the relationship, for the therapeutic relationship, for me to be able to help and support the person.
Right. Yeah. I get the concepts and the thing that I can hear, like I hear the rebuttals because you and I have had these conversations with patients and friends and family and whatever. And I do hear the people on the left side of the coin saying, it's not a concept of political opinion, economic policy, foreign policy. It's not those. It's I cannot respect people that have compromised morality, ethics, when it comes to the care and treatment of other people. I
Right.
get that. I understand that for
Mhm.
sure. But it's, again, the First Amendment. We've got to, that they don't have to be your best friend. You don't have to have them over for dinner, but we do have to find a way to coexist. And
Mhm.
I mean, certainly an argument on the other side is, on the right camp, people and they can't believe that our previous administration was exceedingly corrupt and sold our country for as much money as they could get, and the deep state, and tore our country apart and made decisions that were absolutely were destroying this country, and they were hell bent on destroying this country. So I get that they have that opinion. I don't
Mhm.
believe it's not the opinion I have, but I respect other people that have that opinion. So
Right.
even if the political people, or we have political differences with people in our lives, they don't have to be our best friends, but we do
Yeah.
have to learn how to coexist and respect each other and trust each other, and we're better together.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just keep
And
pushing
back
those
to your,
points because I think that that is just so important. I mean, of those three basic tenets.
well, back to your original point, most of us want the same things. And I
Yes.
know that we have different ways of getting there, and that therein lies the challenge. But let's start from that basis that we want the same kind of things.
Hmm.
And let's discuss what are those things that we really want to see in our country, in our society, in our local communities. What are the things we want to see? And even if we have a difference of opinion of how to get there, we can still work together, utilizing our strengths, our resources, our connectedness, and uniting together, respecting one another, trusting one another. That because we want these universal things, then let's just work on figuring out how we get there
Hmm.
collectively.
And let's agree that we have media in our life who's making tons of money by keeping us angry, right? Because we keep tuning
Right.
in. You
Yeah.
know, if you look back, the rise of some of these media companies exploded with political divisiveness, right?
Yeah.
That's how they make money. Um, so they're invested in keeping us agitated and angry and bringing up, all kinds of the hot buttons of the day. Find some different media sites,
Yeah.
check out some different stuff. And the other thing is, please do some own fact checking before you just like regurgitate some of the things that you've seen or heard. Some of them
Mhm.
may or may not be true.
Yeah. It's the barbershop sign pole that's upside down, you know. Hey, your sign's upside down. Thanks. You want a haircut?
Exactly.
Like people are viewing that stuff and they get lots and lots and lots of views and lots of marketing dollars for that. And so, of course, you're going to be seeing the absolute worst and the clickbaits and and then you're going to feel like things are so far gone. But maybe they're not. Maybe if we simply come from a basis of those three things, respect, trust, and supporting each other, that maybe we can turn this thing around and we don't have to have a catastrophe on a
Mm.
national scale in order for, we remember, did you ever hear this when you're like in school where they were like, well, we haven't had World War III yet, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want everything to come crumbling down where we're left absolutely decimated and then We have
Yeah.
to repair back again. And in history, that has happened a lot.
Mhm.
Maybe we've learned
How often do you think of the Roman Empire? Every day.
every fucking day. Yeah.
Right, the fall of the Roman Empire, the fall of the Mayans and the Aztecs, and
Yeah. Do we have to go that same route? Is history destined to repeat itself?
right.
Have we
You know,
learned?
there's a lot of opinions flying out there. Does the United States need to be the police force of the world anymore? I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone has their opinion on that. Maybe it's time for other people to step up and, provide safety and security around the world. Maybe it's time for the European Union to do that. But with that does come consequences, right? We have enjoyed that the world has been pegged to the US dollar financially and economically for since the end of the World War II. Um, if we give up our policing or our peacekeeper monogram or our job in the world, then we may lose the economic stimulus of having the world pegged to the dollar. So just there are consequences to your actions, and
Right.
what so
So, what's an actionable step? Maybe an actionable step could be choosing, even if you have a difference of opinion, to love and respect your neighbor, regardless of that fact. Maybe it's going online and seeing a post that, grinds your gears and makes you want to lash out, to send a comment saying, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I have respect for you to share your voice and your opinion. I think you have that right. Something along those lines. Gosh, imagine if people started doing that, just saying, "Hey, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I respect your
Mhm.
civil liberty or your right to post this, thank you for sharing, I don't know, something along those lines." Gosh, that would turn things around instead of being like, "You fucking dumbass, god damn, who the hell you think you are?"
Why are we so angry about this? I mean, I know I mean, we've got big consequences. We're talking about the future of our country. I get it. There's a lot of emotion attached to it. But anger, as we all know, is a leading emotion. There's a lot of other things that are below the waterline. So why all the anger? What is that really? Where is that really coming from?
But I think there's a lot of fears in the country right now.
Mhm.
Not sure. Because remember, we had talked about this before, how when we were growing up, we could rely upon, or we felt like we could rely upon the the solid nature of our
Mhm.
country. Like, we love our country. The country, you know what, no matter what, it's rock solid. Or at least we felt that way. And we
Mhm.
could rely on the fact that we can grow up and go to school, go to college and get degrees and, like work and make money and provide for our families and eventually build a retirement and, you know, retire and go to the beach.
Mhm.
That was the American, dream, and we felt like that was already done. We just have to, there's all those little steps along the way to get there, but
Right.
that didn't seem like, oh shit, we're going to lose this country, or, we're
Mhm.
going to have to uh get guns and arm ourselves and make bunkers and
Right. And there would be, civil unrest around the world. There would be countries that went to war. There would be economic up and downs. We lived through those through the 70s, 80s, 90s,
yeah,
2008. I mean, we had ups and downs economically.
but it
But
wasn't here.
yeah, but we could trust there were things going on all the time that weren't great, but we could trust that in all life was good and safe and we would persevere through all. And people don't have some of that security or not feeling
Right.
that security right now. The future is more uncertain than it's ever been for some people.
Yeah.
Um, so yes, I get where people are have fear, but they're leading with anger, and
Yeah.
like we said, anger is a leading emotion. So instead of anger, really try to get in touch with what is driving your emotions. Like, why am I having such a reaction to that post? What
Yeah.
is it? Is it fear? Is it? It's not. It's probably not anger. What is it? So
Yeah.
pay attention to that, and like just actionable steps, like you said, try to go back to those basic three, you know, Trust. I trust that my neighbor has the best intentions for this country. You know,
Right.
respect. I respect other people's opinion, and we have to be together. We are better together as opposed to apart.
Yeah. Hey, here's a novel idea. Turn
Um,
your phone off.
no, Tom, how dare
Turn
you?
the TV off.
What? The phone
Read a,
and the TV off? You mean I
right?
can't look at both at the same time?
Yeah, right. Put your iPad down. Go read a book.
A book.
Go for a walk.
Not that.
Go,
Outside,
you know,
the
I
weather
mean,
is turning, it's spring is here, we're gonna lose an hour this weekend, yay.
right. Go
Um,
play euchre with your neighbor.
okay, strands. That's funny.
Yeah. What was the other one that it took forever to get?
Was there pinochle in there or
Pinochle was Pinochle one. There was Pinnacle was one, and
pinochle, yeah. What was yeah, the other one that was strange, I don't know. Strands.
yeah, strands. Some days I just see it. Other days I'm like, I
I
don't know
know.
what the hell this is.
Yeah, as soon as I got yeah, whatever. We don't have to do the strands here, but
Right.
oh, Tom, what a time to be alive,
Actionable steps. When you see your neighbor, say hello,
right?
offer some respect or some kindness. And if you're online doing the scrolling, send a positive, especially the challenge is to send a positive note to somebody that you don't agree with or you
Mhm,
don't like what they're posting. And let's just see what happens, you know. Like I
mhm,
said, if you feel so inclined to say, I don't necessarily like this or agree with this or feel like this is right or accurate, but I'm going to respect that you have an opinion and you felt so inclined to share this and like just see where that goes because other people are going to see that and maybe that'll spark an initiative of
mhm.
being
We
kind.
all we all want the same thing. We want prices to come down. We want our standard of living to increase. We want to pay less
Yeah.
taxes. We want our country to thrive. That's what we all want,
Yeah.
regardless of what side you're on. And you've got to trust that that's what everybody wants.
Right. So thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go watch or doom scroll on my phone, sitting in front of my TV, and have my iPad set up to the side. So,
Very good. Thank you again for today. And you guys send in your comments or questions. Let's keep the conversation going about this and let's talk about whatever you need to talk about. Let's get into some things.
thank you so much. A pleasure as always.
Thank you. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right.